Hello and good afternoon to this session of LitFestx. We are in conversation with Ayaz Memon, one of India's leading sports journalists. For over 3 decades, Ayaz has covered virtually all aspects of sport in India. He's a journalist, writer, columnist, author of several bestsellers on sports personalities and various games. He's written for the Times of India, Midday, Bombay Times, and the Sports Week, and he continues to have columns in various leading publications in India. Ayaz, welcome to LitFestx.
Thanks, Kumar. Thanks. Happy to be here.
Great. So, Ayaz, I know you and I have had this, if I can say, debate a few times about whether whether India can indeed become a great sporting nation. I mean, given that we have 17% of the world population,
Yeah.
it still beats me why we are not able to produce a larger number of great sports personalities, a larger number of games that we are excelling in and winning. So, what is your view on this?
So, Kumar, I think the answer is twofold. One is that, we don't have a large enough base of people participating in sports, which means whether for reasons of infrastructure or opportunities or whatever else. Ultimately, if you look at a pyramidal structure, if the base is large, then you'll get, as you go higher, you get the greater excellence. If the base is very small, then the chances of having a big enough pyramid or reaching peaks of excellence become that much more remote. So that's been a fundamental problem. The other is I think that socio-culturally we've not been a sporting nation. We don't seem to aspire to sporting excellence. We've been, as we say, के ठीक है, if I play once in a while, it's fine. I mean, I can tell you from my childhood, we were allowed to play for a little while, but not allowed to play so much that you ignored your studies. There was no question of excelling in sports and making a livelihood. You had to come back and focus on your studies and say, boss, parents will tell you you have to go out there and get a job and forget about this khelna kudna and come back home and study. And finally, I think, and this is actually the third aspect, I think now perhaps the realization has dawned that we need to focus on areas of strength for India as we are made constitutionally, as we are psychologically prepared. So, for instance, there's no point in, at least in the short term, aspiring to get sprinters like Usain Bolt. You're probably not going to get them for the next 50, 60 years or maybe a century. But you can get damn good wrestlers who can win you medals, or shooters, or chess players and stuff like that. So I think we haven't been able to focus on our areas of strength in the past. We've tried to do everything that the rest of the world was doing and actually fallen flat on our faces.
Right. And you mentioned something very interesting about our social cultural sort of context with respect to sports. Do you think part of it is also uh, due to the reason that till maybe 5 or 7 years ago, a parent, a responsible parent would never imagine that sports could be a well-paying career for their son or daughter. And now, with the kind of sponsorships, endorsements, fees that sports persons receive, certainly there is money in the sport and enough reasons for parents to not stop their children from playing sports.
Oh, I completely agree. I think there's been a massive transformation in the understanding of sport, in the appreciation of sport, and seeing the opportunities available through sport, even for parents, kids certainly. And I'll peg it on one kind of a factor, which very loosely term I call it the Tendulkar factor. Now, what is the Tendulkar factor, which is actually about 25 years old? The Tendulkar factor is at the age of 16, he was playing international cricket. By the age of 2021, he was amongst the richest cricketers in the world, if not the richest. He became the toast of the country, the toast of the cricket world. India got to be identified by what Tendulkar was doing. across India, pan India, and I can give it to you as a guarantee, Kumar, that his was perhaps the most known face. I can include all the actors and all the politicians and all the other bigwigs that you can think of. But if Tendulkar's picture appeared anywhere between Kashmir and Kanyakumari or the length and breadth from east to west, everybody knew who he was. That has caused a massive change in the mindset. That and the fact that cable TV penetration, as much as it exists, and there is a lot of scope for that, is taking the message of sports to the nooks and corners of this country. People are seeing a great sense of pride and achievement. Indians today are hungry for pride and achievement. India is a very young country. Everybody is aspiring to become something in this world. Sports offers a great platform for that. Not only is it a great platform for earning plaudits, but now more and more we see that there is a livelihood to be earned. So the second factor, which has been very significant in the development or the big push that Indian sport has got in the last maybe 10 years or at least in the century, has been something like the Indian Premier League, the IPL, where the money went from a few thousand to a few lakhs for those who are earning lakhs into crores. So there has been what I call the pull effect. Because cricket became so big, you could pay, if a cricketer is earning a few crore, you could pay a hockey player a few hundred, then you have to pay a few thousand, if not a few lakh. And obviously, all this depends on the state of the economy. If the economy is doing well, then not everybody can get into cricket. Not all the sponsors can get into cricket. They start looking at other sports, which is why badminton players today, Saina Nehwal, Kashyap, and so on, and we've got a very rich crop of badminton players, they are earning very decent money. So are the wrestlers, so are the boxers. Not all of them, but the spread of people who are doing reasonably well in sports and across disciplines has increased quite a lot. Now look, we are a country of 125 crore. It's not going to be easy, but I think that if this starts spreading wider and further and rapidly enough, then I think there's enough scope for India to, in maybe 10, maybe 12, 16 years, to triple the number of medals that we won at the 2012 Olympics. I was there, we got 6 medals, which was a big jump from the earlier one in 2008, and obviously a big jump from the time when we used to get nothing. So, I'm saying that from 6 in 2012, if you can go to about 20 in 2024, it's not a bad start, because then you have what I call a geometrical progression. Then the progression will not be arithmetic, because your talent pool is going to become wider, bigger, and more robust. We saw that happen in the case of China. When China came back into the Olympic fold, they were winning about 25, 30 medals. In Beijing in 2008, they won 200 medals, as they did in 2012 in the London Olympics. So obviously, a lot of work has to be done at the grassroots level, at the government level, and primarily, I think, at the individual level or at the community level. Now, I'll tell you what can be a really big factor, and I've been harping about this when we've discussed this in the past. Kumar, I've told you this. Unless you involve 50% of our population, which is the women, the girls, your progress will be retarded, it will be so slow, it might just never happen. I cannot think of a scenario where you keep 50% of your population out of participation in sports and hope to become a great sporting nation. It will not happen for two reasons. One is that you're cutting off your arms and saying, I'll have only my feet and let's see where I reach. The other is, women, the girl child today is the mother tomorrow, and if she is not oriented into sports, she is not going to push her kids. So
True.
it's not possible to become a sporting nation unless you involve the women.
No, absolutely, Ayaz. I think that's a very important point in terms of getting sports into the socio-cultural sort of skeleton of our country. Like we say, you teach a girl and you empower a mother. So absolutely, but despite all the aspirations that as a country we have, despite the fact that we are looking to sports to sort of uplift our own ambitions as a nation, we aren't seeing enough action even now. So there is a lot of corporate sponsorship for a lot of sports. There are a lot of clinics, camps, you know, in school programs, out of school programs. There's a lot being done, and we're still not seeing those. So where are the Tendulkars of the other sports? Why aren't we seeing those greats in each one of those sports? Fine, it'll be difficult to expect a Tendulkar in hockey very soon, or a Tendulkar in football very soon. But some of these are sports that we have been playing for ages. India has been playing football for decades and decades. India has been playing hockey for decades and decades.
Yeah.
Athletics, kabaddi. So, why aren't we seeing, some excellent world class sort of, number one, number two, number three ranks out there?
So let me explain it to the best of my understanding, Kumar, is that in sports like hockey and football, certainly, in hockey, certainly we've abdicated the position we used to enjoy. We have made keep we have kept telling ourselves, making this excuse, oh, the AstroTurf did us in. But the AstroTurf came in the early 70s. Today we are 2000, in 2015. That excuse does not hold good any longer. The fact is that you were unprepared when AstroTurf was coming. You never bothered about redefining your skills. You never bothered about laying AstroTurfs, enough AstroTurfs in India for you to play and excel in it. So we've been left way behind now. So too in football. I mean, we were never amongst the top nations, but it's worth remembering that in the 1956 Olympics we came fourth. So, it's not that, and football was, I mean, I can tell you as a kid growing up, the three biggest sports were cricket, hockey, and football. And in some states you could redefine that order. In Punjab, it was hockey and football which were ahead of cricket. So too in the east, in some pockets in the south. But today, pan India, the number one sport is cricket. The others have taken a back seat. That's because the federations and the associations were not quite on the ball. Now the gap to bridge in hockey and in football is huge. For us to reach international standards is not going to be easy. In cricket, because it's played by so few countries, and because the sport is very well administered, I mean, all the controversies and the corruption scams apart, it's a very well run sport. It looks after its players and so on and so forth. So I think necessarily, while we don't leave out hockey and football, we need to pursue, and there'll be a heck of a lot of hard work to be done. I think we necessarily have to focus on other sports. Badminton is something which is, has surprised everybody. In the last 5 years, there's, I think, 8 players, men and women, who are in the top 10 in men and women section. That's huge. I mean, there's Saina, there's Sindhu, there's Kashyap, there's, Jairam, and so on and so forth. And the crop is not finishing with them. The younger players who are coming up are also world beaters. So while it has become a pretty much a South Asian China sport, but even so, the numbers are huge of the players playing, and there's a big kind of audience for it. So if the Indians are doing well, I think it's great. We've also lapsed in tennis, according to me, because you haven't found anybody since Leander in the men's section.
True.
Sania has been a revelation in the doubles, but we don't have a rich enough crop like in badminton. So where do we have a crop? I think we can do very well in wrestling. It's not a glamorous sport where the rest of the world is concerned. In the Olympics, it's not, the wrestlers are not talked about like Usain Bolt or some of the others, but they will help you get medals. Ultimately, that should be the aim. So too in shooting. I think we've got some excellent shooters. And it's something that somehow seems to fit the Indian psyche and the mindset, because levels of concentration that are required are very high, and Indians seem to revel in it. So, and then there is the other part which I call, is not the physically active sport, so to speak, but it's still very significant, and that is chess. I mean, chess is pretty much below the radar, but I think we've got a huge number of people, boys and girls, who are very good. I mean, their levels of excellence are very high. If I remember correctly, there are about 8 or 10 women in the top 100 in amongst chess players in the world, which is a damn good going. And again, there the women are doing better than the men, apart from Vishy Anand, who's been there for many years and he put India on the map. But so these are, archery. These are areas where we need to really focus on. We are not going to get medals in swimming. We don't have a Michael Phelps amongst us. Maybe we won't have till another 50, 60 years because you don't even have kids going having access to swimming pools. So that's, I think we need to reset our sights on sports which are going to help us give medals and credit, and that will really have such a huge impact on the Indian mind. The kids that are going to come up who are 8, 10 years old now, and will say, wow, we are capable of winning. And then that feeling spreads to other sports. But if you start chasing a place in the football World Cup, yes, you can get into the, not in the final, but in the World Cup football tournament by hosting a tournament. But yes, it doesn't mean you're in the top 32 teams in the world. You're still 140. Likewise in hockey. So I think we have to pick and choose the sports we want to excel in the short term and have a large term vision and a large term strategy, long term strategy, which is quite different.
So a very interesting point you mentioned that we'll have to forego some of the glory, let's say in sports like hockey and football, at least when it comes to India achieving past glory, right? So it's no point, like you mentioned, focusing on these two sports where we were sporting greats in each one of them many decades ago, but we've lost that ground, and maybe we focus on those areas where we are currently seeing a good crop of talent already doing well to a certain extent, and can we invest time, effort, money, and concentrate and ensure that these 7 or 8 sports see globally ranked top-notch players from India.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, who would have ever thought that we would see an MC Medicom, a woman boxer from India, and going on and becoming a world champion, so to speak. So, and I think somewhere the government of India is seized of the issue. The top scheme that this government, the current dispensation, has introduced, which I think is very laudable. They focused on 7, 8 disciplines. They've narrowed down the number of athletes that they are going to support, but support them to the hilt. They may pay them even 75 lakhs to a crore to go and develop their skills, which I think is the way to go. Pick your elite athletes, focus on them because that's your best chance in the short term to win laurels and medals, and then spread the gospel of sports across the length and breadth of the country. And I think the best way to do it is to